Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next installment in our Agentic Builders series. Last week, we saw how we were leveraging AI to help our sales team become more effective sellers. Today, we're going to be looking at a different area of the organization, and we're very excited to be walking you through how we leveraged Agentic AI to help accelerate our monthly close activities within the finance organization. We're going to be walking through some of the pain points, business challenges that the finance team were encountering, what was sort of holding them back there. And then we're going to be pulling the curtain back a little bit and just showing you the inner workings of the agent and agent creator. I'm Chris Ward. I lead our Center of Enablement for AI here at SnapLogic. So my focus, my team's focus is to help in bringing governance best practices internally and both externally for our customers, really to help in accelerating the safe deployment of AI within the enterprise. My co-host today on the webinar is Nicole.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Houts. I'm a senior finance manager here at SnapLogic. In my role, I'm responsible for executive level financial reporting. And so I'm really excited to share how we built a finance agent to streamline our finance operations and achieve greater accuracy.
Thanks, Nicole. So before we dive into the use case itself, quick bit of housekeeping. We want to make sure you get the most out of the session today. So you'll see on the right-hand side, we have a chat section there. Please introduce yourself. Tell us what brought you here, where you're from, what your role is. Take a moment to answer the poll question, which we'll kick off shortly. Any questions that come up throughout, we have Dominic on the call. He'll be taking those questions there throughout the webinar. There's also a doc section. So if you want to dive deeper into any aspects of the session today, understand a bit more about some of the technical aspects, there's some good resources there. And lastly, we don't want you to miss next week's session, which is going to be focusing on Customer 360 and helping understand how you can bring together intelligence around your customer landscape. So, right, so let's kick off the poll. So so for those working in the sort of finance and accounting domains, what is your sort of biggest challenge at the moment that's slowing you down sort of day to day? Is it too much manual work? Do you find you have sort of fragmented systems, disconnected sort of silos of data? Are you struggling with lack of insights into the data and visibility into it? Generally too slow to act, or anything else? Please just let us know. All right, quick run through of the agenda. So we're going to take you through the use case, also the business case process. I'm going to be walking you through the blueprint, the architecture of the agent that we developed. We're going to get into the product and show you in real time some development around the agent and how that interfaces with the agent that we built. The resulting in business impact as well. So Nicole will tell us what it meant really sort of from an ROI perspective. And then at the end, we'll do a bit of a live Q&A for anything that's still outstanding there. So really to understand why we built this workflow, we obviously need to start with the business problem that we're solving. And this is really where the finance team was spending a huge amount of time each month at month close. So Nicole, can you sort of give the audience a sense of what the process was prior to us building this agent?
Sure, absolutely. So the business process that we were attempting to improve and speed up was around the monthly close. And so specifically, we were focused on the reconciliation process between customer order forms and CRM data in Salesforce, which is ultimately used for reporting financial metrics as well as for invoicing. So quite critical processes and one that are very important to maintain accuracy. So our previous process was, the finance team was manually validating data for accuracy and reconciling between PDF contracts and Salesforce data. We didn't have a single source of truth for some of those critical details, so that made the reconciliation very fragmented and time-consuming.
And what were the sort of key challenges tied to that process, Nicole? Could you shine a bit of light on that?
Yeah, so anytime you have manual processes, they are error prone, right? So that can result in incorrect reporting and even revenue leakage. So it also hinders scalability. None of these things are ideal for a finance team, really.
And then in terms of the desired target state, can you give us a sense of what you were looking to sort of achieve as an outcome when we go and build this agent?
Yeah, the goal was really to save time and effort while at the same time gaining more accurate data. We really wanted an automated process that enabled the team to focus on more strategic work while reducing our monthly close time.
Thanks, Nicole. So I think once we understood those pain points, we had a bit of a journey to unearth that and understand that a bit better. The next step was to kind of break down the key components of the workflow as it was. So can you kind of walk through as really high level what you were doing, as part of that activity?
Yeah, so we were logging into Salesforce, downloading reports, then sort of switching over into Box, and trying to find folders and locating relevant order forms. Extremely manual process, and then ultimately trying to reconcile data and then fix errors in Salesforce as needed. So this reconciliation piece really took a long time. I mean, the team was spending upwards of 40 hours a month on this manual process.
I think I'll safe to say, a lot of sort of manual, repetitive work there, context switching between different systems. So, so when we started to think about, well, what does the architecture of the agent look like? We broke it down and really thought about, well, what's the most effective way for the finance teams to engage and interface with it? So we chose Streamlit, being an open source UI, as a way for the finance teams not just to kick off the process and then have an end result, but really engage with it in a bit more of a chat based fashion. So really the teams are going in, they kick off the process. We have a driver worker architecture within SnapLogic, which helps us bring in agentic AI into the agents that we're building within the platform. So the UI interfaces with the driver pipeline, and then the driver pipeline really looks to iterate around the LLM, and we do that with the worker, and we'll show you how that comes together shortly. In order for us to bring in the right level of data context to the agent, we need to think about bringing in tools. So we had 3 tools here. So Salesforce is where a lot of our opportunity and sales data lives. We also had a tool that allows us to interface with Box, which is our document repository for customer order forms. And lastly, we wanted a way for the finance teams to be able to escalate and bring in a human in the loop as part of the agent that we built. All right, so in a theory, let's see it in action. So I'm going to switch over to SnapLogic here. So for those new to SnapLogic, what we have here is our designer, which is the part of the platform that allows us to orchestrate data movement between different systems. In this context, we're actually building an agent here. So we've scaffolded our driver pipeline here, which is really simple. So we've got a really good sort of starting point to work upon. So first thing we want to think about doing is assigning a persona or responsibility to this agent. So we do that with prompting. So we have a prompt generator Snap for Amazon Bedrock, which we felt was the right LLM. We already have an infrastructure around that internally within the organization. So really just easy as sort of bringing that Snap into the designer, into the canvas. The first thing we want to do is assign an assistant or a system user role to that prompt. So if we open here, we can see the Snap is really helping you sort of curate that prompt that we want to use here. So we're going to give it a responsibility, and we're just going to say you're an agent helping reconcile Salesforce opportunities against customer order forms in Box. And for those agent builders on the call today, you'll know that this exercise of prompt engineering is quite extensive, and you find there's a lot of iteration and time spent building out that prompt in order for the agent to be effective. So what we're able to do here in the prompt generator Snap is use our assistant, which is interfacing with an LLM to help guide and construct that prompt for us. So we'll give it a second here just to come back. And we can see here from that very simple instruction, the prompt generator has been able to construct quite a detailed prompt here with sort of next steps. So let's go ahead and save that. So we now have a basis for what the agent is going to do. Next logical step is to think about bringing in our data into the agent. So we don't want to rely too much on the knowledge that the LLM has. We want to be able to make it specific to our enterprise data. So next step here is to go into our worker pipeline. And we have a pipe loop snap, which allows us to iterate around the LLM to do agentic operations. And we have a pipeline here called the agent worker, which allows us to do that. So our tool calling snap here that we see on the screen is really just setting up the model that we want to leverage for the agent and passing in the message payload system and the user prompt, and then also any associated tools. The next step here is to start building out our tool, our first tool. So let's go and create a new tool called Get Salesforce Opportunities. And we can approach this in a few different ways. We can build an API. We could maybe leverage a MCP as a way of interfacing with the tools. Simplest way here, really, in the platform is to build a pipeline. So we can just think of them as simple interfaces into our different systems and data sources to retrieve the data that the agent needs. Okay, so we've given it a responsibility, a name there. Let's also give it a tool input. So we don't want to expose all of our opportunity data. So what we can do here is give an input to the tool to help us filter down the data that we're concerned about, that we want the agent to retrieve. We also need to give it a purpose. So this is really where we think about what's the tool actually giving us. So we're going to give it a responsibility here. It provides data from Salesforce. Very simple. And this is knowledge for the agent or the LLM specifically to understand how and when we use that tool. So we're going to use our Salesforce read snap. So we have a set of out-of-the-box snaps here to interface with Salesforce specifically. If I drag that into the canvas and then go ahead and select our account, which is going to give us that connectivity. And we're also just going to select the opportunity object. Now, there's different ways in which we could architect this. We could build it in a way that is maybe a bit more dynamic, and you're giving a bit more autonomy to the agent to select the specific object. But we want to be making sure that we're just concerned about opportunities here. Next thing is to bring in the workflows, that tool input that we created a second ago. Excellent. So now we have a working agent. So we've set it a goal or a task. We've also given it a tool. Let's switch over to the agent interface itself and kick off the process. So first step here, obviously we want to be able to retrieve a list of close won opportunities to initiate that reconciliation. We'll just do it for June, considering this is a monthly exercise. So it's going away to our agent that we saw in SnapLogic, and we can see the tool has been able to retrieve 5 close won opportunities here from Salesforce. So a question for Nicole here then. So kind of based on what we've seen here in the response, where would you feel sort of logically would be the next step for you, I guess, as a business owner?
Yeah, I think to iterate on this, I can see there's multiple opportunity types showing up here. So the first thing I'd want to do is, can we narrow the type of opportunity down to just renewals? And then secondly, can we bring in the Salesforce links to these opportunities just to make it quicker to double check anything?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So let's switch back to our agent. And as we saw a second ago, it's really easy to start sort of developing and evolving this prompt as the business rules or needs change over time. So I'm going to ask to provide only renewal opportunities and also a link to Salesforce. And there's a few ways we could do this. We could modify the tool and maybe filter specifically on renewal ops, but we're going to do this within the prompt here. We can see here the prompt has come back. So we've got some specific instructions here in the system prompt to generate the link, and then also we were only concerned about renewals here. So let's save that. And then switch back to our agent interface, and we're going to ask the agent to do the same thing. Excuse my spelling. So as we can see, we're doing this in real time here. So it's really fast sort of development cycle around being able to develop these agents. So you can see here it's come back with our links to the opportunity. So we can now easily go in and, as Nicole said, cross-reference and verify that the data that the agent is returning is valid. And also we filter down to renewal ops. So question again, Nicole, where sort of in the process do we sort of sit now, and what's the next step?
Yeah, so first I'd say this is already light years ahead of where we were before, just being able to see all of these opportunities right here, the links, saving a lot of time already. But for the next step, we'd probably need to go into Box and find the actual order form itself. So could we add that into the agent as well?
Absolutely. So let's switch back again to SnapLogic, and we actually have some tools we've already built here that interface with Box. So we want to be able to bring those in to the worker. So let's do that. So we have a snap called the multi-pipeline function generator. This is where we can attach the tools to the agent. So we have these box ones here. Let's add those in. So one that's going to go in and retrieve as a list of the customer folders, and then we're able to then parse through each of those and retrieve the customer order forms that we're concerned about there. We'll also add another one into write as well. So we want to be able to consolidate the reconciliation output and generate a report at the end of this. So let's add that in and switch back to our agent again. And let's get it to now just reconcile that first opportunity. Right, so this is really where I think we're seeing most of the time saving, right, Nicole? Is really compressing the effort from logging into these different systems. So we can see here it's found a matching opportunity here for that particular op, and then also we have a link now into Box, which again is giving us the ability to draw upon multiple systems here to pull into the agent. So we've got an order form there for that particular opportunity, and it's actually ran the reconciliation for us as well, and given us obviously a result here. We've found there's a match between Salesforce and the order form, which is fantastic. It's also highlighted some sort of minor discrepancies here around the opportunity type and the order form, and the fact there's maybe a mismatch there. So excellent. So let's progress this further and do the next opportunity. All right. So same sort of process here. Found a matching opportunity in Salesforce and the order form as well for that particular op. And then we can see here is actually highlighted a sort of key discrepancy on the financial data. So this is really where I think maybe a certain percentage of the reconciliation process that Nicole was doing, that they would meet this criteria. And this is really where we want to be concentrating most of our time in sort of exploring and investigating this in more detail. So, right, so we have two reconciled customer opportunities here. What would you like to see now, Nicole, in terms of the next step based on this information?
Yeah, I think just lastly, it's always useful to have the data in Excel, right? So could the agent generate an Excel report so we have all the details there?
Yes, absolutely. So you'll see in a second ago, I brought in a tool there that allows us to write this information into Box. So what we've done here in the agent is build up a thread of intelligence, if you like, around the reconciliation process. So what we can do now is we can provide that to the LLM and get it to summarize and generate as a final reconciliation report. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, this is calling back to our agent. I'll give that a second. And this is where we can pull all that information together and it brings us to the end of that reconciliation process. Gives us a nice summary here. You can see there's a partial match for that first one and then a critical issue in the second one, and also the match score. And there's a lot of intelligence here. I think it's probably safe to say, Nicole, that maybe you, as your head in the process, maybe would miss out on. So I think really valuable to see how how these LLMs can supplement and support you with that. Okay, so we can also see here we've got a consolidated report that we've been able to write into Box. And yeah, this sort of brings us to the end of the agent in terms of the process. So
yeah, one thing I just wanted to point out is I think it's pretty cool actually that we can do the reconciliation process in Excel, which is similar to sort of our old way of working, or in the agent in a chatbot style, right? Because that optionality is great to meet the business user where they are in their AI journey. And as you said, I mean, the agent doing the work to bring those discrepancies to our attention just saves so much time where the team can skip right past that manual process and just do the actual review and getting errors fixed.
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, so really a huge support. And I think it's been really interesting for me working closely with Nicole to sort of uncover where are the friction points, the bottlenecks within the process that she was doing, and bringing in the value and the capability that AI can do to support that and accelerate a sort of day-to-day work there. So let's switch back. We have obviously we just want to talk a bit about the fact that it's been a journey, and I think key to outcomes with all of these things is what does it mean for the business. So Nicole, can you just shine a bit of light here on the resulting business impact of what we achieved here?
Yeah, so I mean, this has really changed the way we work, right? From a tedious manual review to more strategic, high-value work. And some of the key results you can see here: 90% reduction in manual review time, 30% faster monthly close, which is amazing, and 2% of our annual revenue was also recovered, which is equally amazing.
Big impact to the business. And then in terms of kind of any advice that you have for the technical agent builders on the webinar today, is there anything that you can sort of help guide them in terms of lessons learned there?
Yeah, I mean, I think just being ready to dive deep into the process to understand the granular details from the business user. But secondly, being willing to challenge those processes as well, because if you can find some opportunities to simplify, that will improve both the business operation and ultimately the agent design.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say as well, Nicole, isn't it, that as we work quite closely together and understood some of the end-to-end process, it gave us the opportunity to, or I guess the opportunity to reflect on the operation and really, as you say, find a way to streamline that and optimize it.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, was there anything that maybe you didn't expect sort of coming into to this at all?
Yeah, I mean, as you just said, I think we did uncover some broader operational inefficiencies and we were able to streamline those. So that was not expected for me. And secondly, recovering revenue was absolutely not expected. That was really the cherry on top. And, I'll just end with, this was just the first agent we worked on, right, in the finance and accounting area, but certainly not the last. And so I'm really excited for some of the other agents that we're working on in finance and accounting, which I think is just such a ripe area for AI.
Absolutely, yeah, we've seen that firsthand, right? So really, this is just kind of scratching the surface, and I'm excited to see where the next wave of sort of use cases and opportunities come from an AI point of view. So yeah, that sort of wraps up the workflow and obviously the key results there and the learning. So we'd love to hear from you. So let's dive into our questions. All right, so first one from Raphael is around how extensive was the test for this process so finance can trust that the LLM is not producing misleading results? Do you have any automated tests to ensure changes to prompts are not changing the quality of responses? First and foremost, I think that's top of mind for anyone building agents at the moment is, how much can we trust what the LLMs are doing, and making sure that we're not bringing in additional risk over and above what we're doing today. So I think what you saw today was a really sort of compressed solution. So when we went through the journey, I think it was over about a year ago now, and I was working with Nicole, we started to set out, well, how do we start to test the results of the agent relative to kind of what Nicole's expecting. So we built an evaluation framework around the agent. So kind of tying back to the key KPIs that Nicole was looking at was around level of accuracy. We also had quite a bit of variance with the order form structure as well, which we needed to navigate. So we built a framework in SnapLogic around the agent that we could run repetitively when we iterated and changed the prompts, just to make sure that there wasn't any drift in terms of quality there. So how can we expect support in the future for model choice and models? So I can see, Dominic, you've answered that one there. So we remain sort of agnostic to all the different LLMs that we have available to us. So our snaps are built in a way that you can easily swap out. You have that optionality of different LLMs. As things sort of move. Also, let's see. Do we have a sandbox to hands-on? If you're an existing customer, yes, we can provide access to these patterns for you. As we sort of evolve and develop these use cases, one of the key outputs of it is repeatability, and we want to be able to encapsulate a lot of the work that we're doing, so that our customers can easily leverage that within their own environment as well. So validations, what validation steps are built in to prevent bad writes? So yeah, we kind of touched on that there. That's really around the topic of evaluations, and we provide a way to build that into the pipelines themselves, to build that confidence. We didn't touch on it today, have an agent visualizer snap. So we'll drop a link in the chat there around that, and what that allows you to do is, as you're building these agents out at design time, as we saw a second ago in the platform, be able to visualize the flow and logic of the agent as it is, taking the prompts and providing responses, and gives you a really nice visual way to see what's happening there. Okay, so we're approaching close. I don't see any questions there. I think just to wrap up then. So make sure you join next week. Thank you for joining today. We're going to be walking through how we're helping provide proactive support around a customer 360 agentic workflow. Thanks, and hopefully see you again next week.